Hey guys, it's Ollie. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I'm going to be showing you how to make a humid hide for your snakes, your lizards, and even your garden snails. I will also be going over why it is important to have a humid hide, especially for reptiles, as well as just some general information about them. So let's go ahead and just jump into making your humid hide. Hi, future Ollie here to interrupt. I just wanted to let you guys know really quick. I promise I'll be super quick about it. I just wanted to let you guys know that I will be at NARBC in Tinley Park October 7th and 8th. So if you happen to also be going and you see me, please come say hi. I am making about 5 of these little glow-in-the-dark perler bead snails. So if you would like one of those and you see me and you recognize me and you are one of the first people to say hi to me, you will get one of those glow-in-the-dark snails. I would really love to get to know some of you guys, so I really hope that if you are going and you see me, you say hi. That's all I wanted to say. Alright, back to the video. To start out, you will need a simple container. I got this one from the Dollar Tree and it comes in a set of 2. I chose the container with the black sides. It does make reptiles usually feel more secure. However, you don't have to do this, and my corn snake, for example, certainly doesn't mind. You can also put another hide over top of the humid hide if you want to use this cheap alternative, but also you don't like the look of the humid hide, which I totally understand. For a snail humid hide, which this one will be, it's pretty much the same steps, just on a smaller scale, and you don't need blackout sides for snails really at all. Now what I'm going to do is make a hole in the container. A good rule of thumb is to make the hole on top for snakes, since it's easier for them to find and they won't track a lot of the sphagnum moss around. And then placing it on the side for lizards, since it's just much easier for them to find that way. I believe either way works for either animal, but that's just the easiest option for them. For snails, it really doesn't seem to matter at all. Now to make the hole, you can use scissors or an X-Acto knife. Now I know I have a lot of kids watching, so please make sure to have an adult help you. I really don't want you to injure yourself while you're trying to do something nice for your animal. I personally am using this old wood burner. It just gets the job done a lot easier and faster, and I don't have to worry about the sharp edges. You only want to make the hole big enough for the thickest part of whatever animal that's going in here. If you make the hole too big, it will dry out the moss a lot faster and you'll have to rehydrate it a lot more. And of course, make sure to sand down any sharp edges. Just run your finger along it, and if it feels sharp to you, go ahead and sand that down. You do not want your animal to get cut going in and out of this thing, so just make sure that they're nice, smooth edges. Alrighty, and now for the sphagnum moss. Now a quick warning, I don't have any experience with this personally, however some people do. For certain lizards like leopard geckos, you definitely want to make sure their humid hide is safe. I have heard of some issues with impaction when using moss. Sometimes the animal will try to eat the moss. In that case, if you're worried about that, you can use paper towel instead, just damp paper towel. You'll just have to change that out a lot more often than moss. Now that this disclaimer is out of the way, you want to make sure you get your sphagnum moss from somewhere that's meant for reptiles. Mainly just to make sure there's no gross stuff in it that can harm your animal. You don't want fake moss. You don't want any treated moss that you might find in the store. You just want moss that you can buy at the pet store or online, specifically made for animal use. I have heard of some success with other mosses, but sphagnum moss is probably the easiest one to work with, and it's the only one I personally have experience with. I also do clean out my sphagnum moss. You can just do this by using a bowl of some warm water and just kind of working into the moss with your fingers, and just keep rinsing and repeating until the moss comes out with clear water. I just do this to make sure that I'm not putting anything gross or anything harmful into my enclosures. You do want to use just plain dechlorinated water. You do not want any soaps or chemicals, of course. Now that you have your moss and it's clean, you want to hydrate it. You want to hydrate your moss by either putting it in a small amount of water or just sprinkling it on top like you would watering flowers. And the most important part is that you want to do a squeeze test. So the moss should be damp, but you also don't want it to be dripping when you squeeze it. The reason for this is that it can cause some standing water in your humid hide, which you absolutely do not want. Standing water in your humid hide can easily cause gill rot. For snails, you don't want standing water, mostly because they might drown. So avoid standing water at the best of your ability. Do the squeeze test. Don't make it too wet in there. And just like that, you now have a humid hide made for relatively cheap. These can also double as lay boxes, so for reptiles it is more important, but I have also noticed that snails tend to use these humid hides more for laying eggs. Some of them will still bury down into these substrates to do it, but I know a lot of them kind of like to lay their eggs in a lay box. The way that I typically do a snail lay box is I actually take the container, put it into the substrate, and then put the hole on the top, but that's just me. Alright, and now that we have made our humid hide, let's talk about when, where, and why you should be using it. So humid hides are super important for shedding, and it avoids any issues with stuck shed, which can be a big problem if not treated properly. So in the wild, animals like snakes and lizards will seek out these specific environments to maintain their needs. So to kind of substitute a more humid cave, we'll just be making one, and it can double as a lay box, which is pretty cool if you are into breeding, or even if you have an animal that makes slugs, or it's a snail that will just breed uncontrollably anyway. Alright, so let's move on to how you use it. So simply place your humid hide on the warm end of the enclosure. You don't want to put it on the cold end, that kind of defeats the purpose. You want the humidity, the heat and humidity. So definitely make sure to put it on the warm end of the enclosure. Now, this is where it can get a little bit tricky. You don't really have to worry about snails with this, but some reptiles like their humid hide a little bit too much and will overuse it, which can also result in scale rot like we mentioned earlier with the standing water. It's the same thing. So you don't want your animal to get scale rot, of course. It's not a great time. If you are suspecting any signs of that, immediately take them to a vet. But if you do have an animal that is using it way too often, there's a couple things you can do that still supplies that humid hide during shed, but doesn't allow them to constantly be in it 24/7. So your first option is just to take it out after the shed and then put it back in and hydrate it when the snake is about to shed, preferably around the time of blue, if not a little bit before they go into blue. If you don't know what that means, it means that the snake has that secretion of oil in between the layers of skin, the old and the new layer of skin. And so you identify that marker by the color of their eyes. It'll be like a milky blue when they're just about to shed. They should shed within a day or two of being in blue. So that's what that means. You can also tell that your snake is going into shed by the colors get a little bit more dull. The other thing you can do is just leave the humid hide in there, but you can let it dry out. So it goes in a bit of a cycle. So it'll dry out after they're done shedding. You don't have to hydrate it anymore. Let it dry out, and then when they're around the time to shed, they start getting those dull colors, the blue eyes come in, then rehydrate it for them. That is personally what I have done in the past for Clementine and what I am choosing to do again for her. So that is an option as well. Now, if your snake is just using it sometimes and they're not in shed, that's not a problem. That's fine. That's normal. It's just if they are in there really, really consistently and they're not in shed that it can start causing some harm. Alrighty, and now for the maintenance of your humid hide. So you are going to want to rehydrate your humid hide. Just play it by ear, honestly. If you have those clear parts of the container, like I have with the lid here, or maybe the walls if you chose a clear one, you can just check for some condensation on the container. And of course, every so often, you are going to need to change out your moss. It's not going to stay good forever, so definitely do that. And of course, check it for poops and stuff. So when you do your daily spot cleaning for your enclosure, you are also going to want to check your humid hide, especially if you saw the animal actively in it that day. This does include snails. You know if you have snails that they poop everywhere, so definitely be cleaning that out. You don't want to leave that to just sit in damp moss. It's not a good idea. So make sure that you're maintaining it that way and that you are changing the moss as needed. So just make sure it's not smelling funky, make sure it looks fine, there's no nasties in it, that sort of thing. And lastly, keep in mind that it is going to take your animal probably a little bit to get used to it. Give them some time, let them figure it out. You can always show them. You can literally just direct them to the opening of the humid hide, or you can even put them in here and close the lid for them and they can leave on their own. That is up to you if you would like to do that. Alright guys, well that is all I had for you today. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to give this video a like for the algorithm and comment down below if you have any other methods of making your own humid hide or if this tutorial helped you at all. All of my links, including my Instagram, my art account, commissions are open by the way, and my Facebook group will all be in the description down below. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you are into this kind of content or really any animal kind of content. I upload every single Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, but you can hit the bell if you don't want to remember that. And as always, I will see you guys next week. Bye.